name is Mel Glickman. My pronouns are they, them, and I am part of the Project T.
Awesome. T was such a great film to watch. What made you want to be a part of this project?
Oh man, I mean, when I first pitched the idea to my friend Lane, it when I first did it, honestly, it wasn't even a formal pitch. I think at the time I was brushing my teeth. It was like 10:30 at night, and I had been sitting on this thought for like weeks and weeks of, I had been considering going on low dose testosterone for a long time at that point. I was just about ready to start the formal conversation with my doctor and get that moving. And while I was, mulling that medical decision over, I, had talked to friends of mine who are also transmasculine and also in the industry to, get their advice, their feedback, their support. And time again, I came up against their stories of, well, my agent
Mhm.
recommended that I drop out of the scene for a couple of months up to a year until my look was solidified,
Mhm.
and then I could be properly reintroduced to agents and casting directors, or other people wanting to say take the same leap but
Mhm.
being afraid to because it might damage their voice, damage their image. They didn't know when they would be stable and marketable again.
Mhm.
Um, and deep in my heart, I knew, or at the very least, I hoped that that simply wasn't true. I mean, I come from a background of live theater rather than film, and there are countless examples of transformative theater that not only accommodates for but relies upon people in transition,
Mhm.
trans people or pregnant people, and in that way, the art is used as a liberating space to let those people know, like, hey, you still have a place here, you still have a job here.
Mhm.
And in the back of my mind, I figured, I mean, that must be possible for film, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, it is in a documentary sense. Like
Mhm.
documentary is really good for that, but surely there must be some way to extend that to narrative film.
Mhm.
Um, so when I was finally ready to take that leap, just sort of on a whim, I texted Lane, who's been a good friend of mine for many years and is a fantastic filmmaker. I texted them saying, like, hey, wouldn't it? It wasn't even a pitch. It was a, hey, has anyone done this?
Mhm.
Is this something that's already out there? And I mean, that was 4 years ago, and I still can't quite believe that they said, yes, that's something I was thinking about as well. Why don't we do that?
Mhm. This film was shot over 2 years. There's so much that goes on. It's such a complex story. How much of that story were you personally going through as you were shooting this?
I mean, it's absolutely wild. I mean, as an actor, obviously, the whole work of acting is, feeling, real feelings due to imaginary circumstances. But this was, the closest that I've ever gotten to those imaginary
Mhm.
circumstances actually being real, to the point where there were multiple times, or multiple instances where my character M was going through some sort of milestone of transition
Mhm.
that I hadn't even hit yet. I mean, even to this day, I'm experiencing moments like that, and thinking back to when we shot the parallel scene for M and realizing, like, oh wow, the thing that I'm going through right now is surprisingly close to the mark of of what Lane and I came up with. Yeah, it's as a storyteller, theoretically, um, that projects like this that allow you to safely explore scary feelings or intimidating scenarios in a safe place. Theoretically that those can be, revelatory and liberating. But I got to experience a lot of like real life applications of that.
There's a lot of intense situations that are presented in this film. Some very heartbreaking. What is it about Lane's directing style that allowed for a safe space for you to explore these feelings on screen?
So when I was first introduced to Lane, it was in the theater scene. They co-founded a theater company back in Baltimore in the mid 2010s, Cohesion Theater Company, rest in peace. And when I first met them through that, we did a couple of different projects together, and the directing style that they had for theater was, very, very intimate, very straightforward, but also very trusting. Like Lane is going to give you, Lane's not going to sugarcoat things for you. Lane's going to tell you exactly what needs to happen in order to, make their vision of the art piece reality. But at the same time, they're going to do it from a place of compassion, and they're going to do it knowing that they put you as an actor in that position for a reason. And it's because they trust you and they trust your own vision. So, ever since working with them, gosh, at this point, almost a decade ago, I mean, when you find a director like that, you want to keep working with them over and over and over. And that particular kind of intimate, compassionate directing style that Lane had for theater, translates to film
Mhm.
beautifully.
Definitely. And you're now in Dances with Films. You're going to be screening at the TCL Chinese Theater during Pride Month of all months.
Incredible. Yeah.
Everything has aligned. How are you feeling about that?
Gosh, as far as the project goes, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of everything that our tiny little team has done. Um, I'm excited to share this with the world. Personally, I'm also, a little anxious, a little terrified. Just, because this has been my baby
Mhm.
since 2021, for the last, almost 4 years. Um, and I hope people see the same joy and beauty and power in it that Lane and I do.
Definitely. As you sit there in the coming weeks with an audience, what reactions are you hoping to get? What are you looking for when they're sitting there with the audience?
That's a good question. Um, and it's complicated because there are so many different viewpoints out there. There are so many different kinds of people that could be showing up for this film, both during the premiere and, knock on wood, in the future, when this film gets shown to more people, more places. There's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of discourse, about what makes a queer film that is for queer people versus a queer film for cisgender people. Um, and I think some of that is valid. I think there are some films where, the strategy that they choose is, we're going to make sure that everyone is on the same page with, what's happening with these characters, who these characters are, um, before we move forward with the story. And, depending on what kind of story you're trying to tell, that's totally fine. But I know that queer people who are actually out there, living their lives and already know the basics, don't necessarily want to see that, and can feel tired or disenfranchised when so much time and attention, is spent trying to, right, wrong, or different, get non-queer people up to speed. Um, I think we've done a really good balance between those two. I mean, especially because it's not necessarily a film about trans issues. It's,
Mhm.
it's a film about a trans person who happens to have those issues simply because that is their life. But we're focusing on other things. I hope that queer people can walk away from this film feeling heard and understood and seen and loved. And I hope that people who aren't queer maybe feel the same thing. Hopefully, walk away with a little bit more understanding of, not the queer experience, but a singular, a possible queer experience.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this project. It is beautiful. It's a wonderful watch. I enjoyed it immensely. And thank you very much for spending some time talking to me about it.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime.